What's going on, everybody? It's a beautiful Sunday morning. Today you're gonna get a little update on this Fescue project right up front here. I recently did some weed controls, and I'm gonna talk about my mowing game, and I'm also gonna mow it, give it a haircut, and I'm gonna talk about how I'm gonna fertilize it to get it to survive the summer. This is what we're looking at. It's shaggy. It's got dying weeds in it. It's got a lot of POA in it. I'm really not worried about the POA, because I'm gonna get ready to mow it out. Look at that. I don't know if you can see it, the camera pick it up. There's a lot of POA in there. So mainly I've been worried about the broadleafs. I just made an application 2 weeks ago. I'll show you some of the death and destruction that was caused by that. The POA annua, I'm really not worried about. There is stuff that you can take it out with to get it out of fescue, but it's very expensive, and I want to make sure that this will live through the summer, because this is kind of like a little experiment. I live in a very, not necessarily a very hot zone, but not a lot of people grow fescue where I'm at because of the heat. Yeah, chickweed, crispy chickweed, dying. All the chickweed dying. Death to oxalis, aka yellow wood sorrel. Look at all that dying. All right, you saw that footage of dying weeds. Kind of thought that through the wintertime, the frost might have knocked them out, and all the frost did is just kind of make them stop growing. It didn't get cold enough here to actually take them out. So I opted and waited till it got a little bit warmer, because herbicides have better efficacy when it's a little warmer. If you spray it when it gets down in the 30s at night and it's the highs like 50, I mean, a lot of your stuff will still work, but it takes forever. This is, you see it zapping in 2 weeks. I'll show you what I sprayed. I sprayed a combination of, that is my surfactant I used. I used Fertilization Weed Free Zone, which is the exact same formulation as Speed Zone Southern. I hit it with Bifin, and I hit it with RGS. The reason why I mixed Bifin in the mix is because we were starting to get bit by mosquitoes. The mosquitoes don't sleep. As soon as it gets warm enough, them dudes is out. And in my mind, I was thinking, the mosquitoes are out, that means that stuff that gnaws on the grass is also out. And then, you know, you get the extra mosquito control too. Bifin's not the best for mosquito control, but it will, I've seen personally that it will knock them down, thins them out, where they're not toting you off every afternoon. And I mixed all of that right there in one tank. So I can confirm that all of these guys together, there is no reaction. You can, if you know what you're doing spraying, and I've tightened my spray game up and did a lot of practicing. I sprayed a lot of just straight water, and I sprayed a lot of humic acid, and I sprayed a lot of blue marker dye with nothing else in it, trying to get my overlap right and trying to get my walk speed right. So I had a lot of practice over the winter. Yeah, but like I said, all that can be mixed in a tank. You shouldn't experience any reaction. I didn't. I jar tested it, and then I put it in there, and it sprayed beautifully. The only other herbicide application I made was mid-February. I put down a granular pre-emergent, which was dithiopyr, and I wanted to go liquid this year, but Lowe's was giving them bags almost away. They were $10 for 50-pound bags, so I picked up a couple of those, and I'm just going to use dithiopyr for this year, and then get dimension or prodiamine liquid next year after I use all them bags up. All right, let's talk about mowing. I was mowing this at 3 1/4 through most of the late winter, early spring. Now the temperatures are starting to heat up, and I let it go for a couple weeks because I'm trying to get it up to that 4 or higher mark. My Honda lawnmower, it's an older one, only goes to 3 1/4. Now, for anybody who is interested, I have done some research, and I got the part numbers of the parts needed to convert that Honda to where it'll go up to a solid 4. So if you're interested in that, I'm probably gonna do a video of, I'm probably going to do a video of that in the future, and I'm going to convert mine over. But for the meantime, I'm using this garbage. It's one I had stashed in the back corner. I mean, I am a load of junk, you know what I mean? People give me crap all the time. And I got it running yesterday, and the good thing about it is, I mean, it sucks. It's non-self-propelled, but it'll cut at a full 1.25 inches. So that's what I'm gonna use today. Now I need to order a couple more parts. The gas tank on it leaks. I can't put but 2/3 of a tank of gas in it without it leaking, so I might have to fuel it a couple times. So let's get to mowing and see what it looks like when I get done. Cleaned up pretty nice. I suck at making straight lines with my real tracks, but cleaned up nice. I noticed that I'm assuming that 5-star fescue mix that I use in the front yard had some ryegrass in it, some annual rye. It grows a lot faster because there was a lot of that popping up in amongst fescue, but the lawnmower takes care of that and the heat will take care of the rest. All right, let's talk about fertilization on sand and what I have found works the best. All right, so what I did up until this point through the winter time, so I planted it and then I hit it a few times with fertilizer, and every time I didn't hit it hard, I just hit it more times. So I put down like a 0.3 to 0.5 pounds of nitrogen each time. I just did it more often. I did like every 3 weeks. And I did that until we got to December, and then when the grass started, it got cold enough that the grass stopped growing, I cut it off. Then I started it, when I saw it growing again on its own, I started it again in March. I have super sandy soil. My CEC in the front yard is like 3.5 or something. It's super low. So you can't do that Scott's 4-step thing. You can't just pound it and expect it to, like it says on the bag, feeds up to 4 months. It don't do that in sand. It's gonna wash right through. So the way I get by with that is I just give it just enough for the grass to have something to eat on, so that I'm not wasting my money slamming it and then it's just leaching through the soil. And I think they call that spoon feeding. I don't know. What I've been doing ever since the growing season is I hit it with about a ½ pound about every 3 weeks, and now I'm going to back that off as it gets warmer. So by the mid-May, so a month from now, I'm going to start hitting it like with a 1/3 pound once a month through, so it'll have something to eat on through the summer, but I don't want to slam it too hard. And every fertilizer I've thrown to this yard since the beginning, and I've got a bunch of different ones I've thrown on it, but I always tried to keep a 1-to-1 ratio of nitrogen to potassium, because I have, or had at least, I just sent soil test out, so we'll see what that says, but I had a potassium deficiency. And I think a lot of people, I've seen it on Facebook groups, they'll have a surplus of potassium and it'll just start slamming it with nitrogen. What you don't realize is that you can quickly end up with a deficient potassium system, because every pound of nitrogen you throw out, it's going to call for a ½ pound of potassium. So you see where that's going. Everything I did, whether I had to do 1 app or 2 apps right behind each other, I ended up with, I did the calculations, at least a 1-to-1, if not a little bit more, than a little more potassium throughout the whole growing season. I'm going to keep that whole situation going through the summer. It's just like that raggedy gas tank on that lawnmower. So if you put out too much, you're going to lose a lot of it through washing through the sand. So what you do is you just put a little bit along, and that's what gets the job done. All right, I'm gonna wrap this up. Look at it one more time. It ain't the greatest, but it looks decent. Go ahead and like the video if you learned anything. I'm going to be doing an update or two through the summer where we'll see. I will report whether it dies or lives. I'm going to do everything in my power to keep it living. So go ahead and hit a subscribe if you're interested in seeing how this project goes along to see if it will live or die. All that being said, thanks for watching. Come back and see me.